Nice to see you again. This is Adina and Alec with Ep.6, and we have today a very special guest. We're talking about Aishatu Gwadabe, who is a peacemaker, I think. she's a specialist in conflict and peace. She is also budding or informing expert in AI and conflict and peace. She has an academic studies in critical international politics with focus on post-colonial political philosophy, environmental and African politics, and global justice and peace studies. And she's currently international project manager with a specialization in development, cooperation, and humanitarian assistance for the peace advice for the German Civil Peace Service. And she's implementing a project in regional West Africa out of Benin at this time. So welcome, Aishatu.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And thank you for accepting to come on such a short notice. That shows a lot of adaptability and being nimble. So I'm very happy to have invited you. So we said that somehow we are going to talk about the three big C's of 2020. I like to call them like this: COVID, conflict, and climate.
Mm-hmm.
And you said somehow that they are, all these 3 points are linked. How are they linked? What do you think?
Well, for me, when I think about the big threes, for me, they're linked to each other in a way that I look at them from a different perspective. So I did a couple of days ago, I did like a quick search and I wrote Ebola death. And when I did the search, I could see like a lot of images of Black people in Africa dying and suffering. And then I did another search and I wrote COVID-19 deaths. And I was really looking to see, would the portrayal be the same, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was surprised, or maybe not surprised, to find out that this wasn't the case. And this is kind of in line with the thinking that it is hard to imagine a situation where a Western country could be portrayed in such a way, you know. Because here there's a larger issue of dehumanization of Black and brown people, which is both a symptom and an outcome of the way we conceptualize personhood. So these were my thoughts when I think about the big three C's, that it's important to have a different perspective, you know, to look at it from a post-colonial perspective and to look at the legacies of post-colonialism, which inform us what it means to be a human, who is the other, you know. If you look at philosophies that inform the West, you have Descartes. Everyone knows cogito ergo sum. I think therefore I am. But there's a consequence in that, because it means if you're being seen as a not thinking being, then you don't exist, or you're not on the same level of humanity.
Well, I have to tell you that I'm very happy you brought Descartes, because I really dislike that guy.
Yes.
I have to say it very plainly. I think there are two people in philosophy who really screwed everything else for us, Plato and Descartes. Plato because of idealism, and Descartes because of the sort of essentializing of the mind.
Mm.
Because you are so interested in artificial intelligence, my biggest problem with artificial intelligence is that its definition comes from a very narrow perspective. And because you enter straight in colonialism, post-colonialism, artificial intelligence comes from white males, many times frustrated, that are based in Silicon Valley. and their idea of the mind is very much linked with Descartes. It's the disembodied mind, and it's this kind of idealized, purely rational mind. On the other hand, we have today a lot of currents that are talking about the importance of emotions, the importance of the body, the importance of pluralism of visions, and the importance of many types of intelligence, not only one type of intelligence.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that? I mean, Adina, if you have any thoughts on that, please
Yeah.
intervene.
Yes.
I know last time you ended the idea shouts on the question of love, and that and love
I will take the role to translate to the public everything that is becoming too academical into what does it mean for our day-to-day life. It means that we need to feel each other more like humans rather than apply labels and consider that dark is something and white is something and so on and so forth. So it's like diversity of nature, which is so very useful in any circumstance, because diversity is what makes us healthy in a way, rather than one direction or another. So I would rather take this role today because I really enjoy listening to you guys. So as long as we make this circle round table, it's like what Alec and Aishatu say is that it applies like that in real life to the kids. So,
But thinking about what Alec just said about artificial intelligence, I think it just shows us it's important to look at the origins of our concepts. For instance, if you look at the way we embody artificial intelligence or chatbots, the way we portray them, their images. There's this idea behind the rationality and the rational mind. And if you look at them, they look cold. They have like metal bodies, and they don't really feel or have emotions, but they just function and they function efficiently. And they portray kind of an image of what the Western mind transports to a future intelligence, an idea. So I think it's important to have a kind of pluriversal conception of the world, and pluriversal is not the same as
I have a question here, because I definitely agree with that. I fight every day as a researcher. I fight every day with the idea of using artificial intelligence into my job, into getting to know and understand people, and advising clients to move forward together with people, and also using this artificial intelligence, which is indeed very cold, and so on. And if you were to leave it like it is, okay, use it in the future, project the future like it is now even more, even aggravated, rather than maintain at the same level. What do you feel that it's gonna do to the mind of the humans in general? Is that gonna be what are gonna be the consequences? Talking now about climate versus conflict, it's gonna be a conflict or a climate
acclimatization.
Acclimatization, yeah.
I think what we can see, especially in AI, there's a movement towards responsibility and explainability, because all these technologies, they seem so far away. People can't really comprehend anymore how these technologies come to their decisions, how they influence our lives, because people are using it in the hiring practices, it's being used in the criminal justice system. And maybe what we need is a shift, to not look at artificial intelligence or technology as something abstract, as something objective, because it's being built by humans. So it has certain ideas being transferred to that technology. And what we need is to look at it maybe in a different way, because right now everything is being automated, and it's almost as if they can perform tasks without our intervention. So we should maybe look at this technology or AI like a child, you know, you have to raise it to be a certain way. And maybe we can raise technology or AI to be more empathetic, to reflect the needs that we have, because we can't remove it. It's going to be part of our future. We have to just redefine what role it's going to play and how much we're going to let technology decide for us, because
Yeah.
it has
So
already.
actually,
Yeah.
I would add to that exactly what you said, Aishatu, is that I don't think we need to grow it as a child, but we need to remind ourselves that it's just a tool. It's a tool that we can apply to some things and we cannot apply it to other things. For example, justice.
Yes.
For example, yes, because we do have a kind of sketchy record of justice or the application of the law. Not to be confused, law and justice are two different things. Justice is a continuous conversation. Law, it's a definitive and sometimes violent act. And so what's interesting is to stop and not to grow the technology, but to grow ourselves up, because we behave with AI as a 3-year-old behaves with a hammer. Everything is a nail. Let's optimize everything. Let's optimize the moment in which I will eat a sandwich, or I would eat something because my DNA code tells me, and my family history and my search history tells me that I should eat that and not that. I'm sorry, I keep giving these examples, but what I think that you point out there is very important is that, and of course there are many people who write about it, including data scientists, who say, hey, remember, this is a hype. We are in a moment of the hype of AI. It happened before. AI has been around for more than 50 years. There were successive heights of AI, and then it went down, and then it came up, and now we're up again with it, because the power of computing is much bigger these days. We let it influence a lot of aspects of our lives, and people don't even know about that, in banking, financing, access to loans, access to real estate markets, access to college, and access to jobs. And basically, in those kind of applications, the machine only amplifies what happened before.
Yeah.
And what happened before is not always
good.
Just let's put it this way. Yeah. So we can definitely apply artificial intelligence and automated system to a lot of things, to a lot of good things. But there is this rush to apply to everything that needs a step back, I guess.
You know, it is being said that the hope for living is very much connected to the feeling of utility. And I feel that it's something that probably we all feel, that the IE is actually feeling a lot of that feeling of utility. You know, it's like numbing your feelings in a way. But it's something that is numbed, has no feelings, like you said, it's cold, and it's numbing even your feelings, and it's stealing part of that feeling of utility that you need to to gain again, to recover, you know, in a way physically from the abuse of IE. I mean, like we were saying, feeling your body, smelling the flowers, feeling the water flowing and the mountains and so on, and all these things related to climate that are very much connected to life in general, and feelings, and to the connection with doing something with your feelings and doing something with your body which is actually very much connected to life in general and hope for living for life in general. You know, this is why I think that indeed, how we do this, how we convince the humanity that artificial intelligence is actually a tool, and we should use it with responsibility, and it's like it's not something to be abused, because that's
Yeah,
stealing your health.
I
Yeah,
totally
there's
agree with you. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's this whole thing where a lot of times, oh, artificial intelligence will give us the solution for all our
Yeah.
problems. No, it will not give us the solution. We can use this tool to find solutions to our
Yeah,
problems if we, if we, how do you say, if we formulate them correctly, too, if we put the
exactly.
right questions. That's
Imagine this meeting would have been planned by artificial intelligence and not by us, like very special.
well, it
That's
would have not probably taken place.
yeah, exactly. Probably it would have been bothered by other artificial intelligence plans. You know, that would have that conflict. Can't do it. Yeah.
So, but I wanted to ask you, Aishatu, because as we've seen with COVID did a lot of things. One of the things is accelerated innovation,
Mhm.
made people more accepting of this kind of meetings that we have right now and this kind of exchange, which is great. But at the same time, it accelerated conflict. And I think a lot of conflict that we see today everywhere, from Thailand to Belarus,
Mhm.
and from Hong Kong to wherever you look, but Kentucky right now, are have to do also with the pandemic and with the climate change. Do you have any thoughts on that? And do you have any possible solutions that you can think of or directions?
Maybe answering your first question about conflict. COVID-19 had a big impact. So it amplified a lot of conflicts. It amplified some of the roots of conflicts. In some areas, increased inequality. And for instance, there's some governments that are exploiting the crisis to further their agenda and to be more authoritarian. But the crisis has also given opportunities to advance peace. For instance, there's some countries that have ceasefire campaigns. You see more cooperation between communities. You see a lot of communities regaining agency for themselves and not waiting for governments to protect them, but they realize they have to take care of each other. So there's more this kind of sense of caring for each other and looking after each other. And one thing I noticed while I was in Germany for a short time during COVID, well, it's still COVID, but yeah, when I was there, what really moved me, I went back and then I saw everywhere like little leaflets where people were offering to help buy food for others. And you had this thing, when you arrived in Germany, you have to do a little quarantine, stay at home and not go anywhere when you've flown in. And I would have my family, and I stayed somewhere else just to show my care through distancing, you know. And I would have my family members doing my shopping for me. They leave it in front of my door. And you have, you know, people like taxi drivers who really lost a lot of customers. But what they did, they changed for them the narrative, and they offered to buy food for people who cannot leave their home, who are more in danger, like old people or people who have medical conditions and stayed at home to protect themselves. So you had this kind of, we have social distancing, you know, telling us we have to distance ourselves physically from each other, but I don't feel that it is real social distancing. It's more physical distancing.
Mhm.
Because it has increased our creativity to find new ways to help each other. And I have this one memory that I have that really stuck with me. I went to buy something in a shop, and I was in front of the aisle, wanted to buy something. I was looking at the products, and there was an older lady, and she wanted to get something from the same area where I was standing, but everyone was keeping distance. So I noticed she wanted to go there, so I went and made like 4 meters distance, and she thanked me from the bottom of her heart, and I think, and I thought, wow, the act of, making this physical distance created this other connection with me and this woman, and her acknowledging that this meant so much to her, me recognizing her need to go there and making a bit of space. And I think
that's so beautiful what you say, because it ties up with what we were saying in our last meeting. If you remember, last week, Adina, if you remember, we were saying that COVID reminded us that we have a body and that others also have a body, that we are the body, and we need to take care of each other because we forget we are in a Cartesian place. Up to COVID, we're in this Descartes world. We are all minds floating around.
Yeah. And we also had this conclusion in the other meeting as well, which is actually connected with what we are discussing now, is that our body is actually very much connected to our planet, in a way, and in a very clear way. So maintaining social distance and creating different type of connections is like being responsible to save what we have, and make space for what we have good to offer around us. It's like saving humanity in a way, and saving our lives, and saving the best things of our lives, and even more saving our bodies and our planet. It had to be something like that. So traumatic in a way, so frustrating and so on, to make us all realize once again that life is
fragile,
but it's so worthy, to be there among people in general. So COVID actually did something, amplified not just the conflict, but also the peace.
Yeah, I think what you said is really important. The fact that we live in a society that is a bit anthropocentric, which means it focuses on the human. But what we need is a radical shift. We need to think in terms of multi-species needs, or environmental thinking, and increase our ability to have this kind of relational capacity. Because we live in an ecosystem where there are different needs that need to be renegotiated, and it's not just our needs that are important, but the environment. And I think what you just said also reminded me of a poem I read. It's called A Letter from COVID, which I really liked, and it's a letter where COVID addresses humanity and says, stop everything you're doing and start to reflect on your life, and remember, I'm not the enemy, but someone who reminds you about the fact that there is a value in also thinking in the here and now, and also in thinking about future and past. So I thought that was really interesting. It reminded me of what you said, and the fact that we need to, in order to care for the present, we need to preserve the future, as well. So this idea that I find, what I noticed, that a lot of things right now are in terms of short-term thinking. So, we have 24-hour news, 24/7 news cycles. We have 4 quarters in economics, and then,
we have yearly budgets.
Yearly budgets, and stuff like that. But actually, there's so many interesting cultures or ideas that think about the long term and the value in that. For instance, I'm from Cologne. So in Cologne, there's this really big cathedral, which used to be the highest building in the Middle Ages. And it took several hundred years to build it. So this kind of shows us a different way of thinking of time and constructing something over different generations and giving the hopes of the past to the future, you know. And
that's a great example, and I can give you another one from current days Japan. I was talking with an architect, and she was impressed about how she, after a visit to Japan, she witnessed a team that were talking about the redevelopment of one slope of Fuji mountain. And he asked me, she said, you know, Alec, they were thinking really long term. What do you think was long term there? And I said, I know, maybe 50 years, 150 and more.
wow.
So yeah, and I have to say right now I'm currently involved in convincing some people to think 50 years long term. We'll see, maybe it will work.
Yeah, this reminds me of another example. In Peru, there's this native tribe called Quechua, and whenever they have to do a decision, they imagine like as if there was an empty chair, and they think 7 generations into the future. So whenever they have to do an important decision, they have this representative of 7 generations into the future who takes part in the decision making. So if we apply this to climate change, it would change completely how we would plan our interventions, or how we would plan to connect and save our planet. Because if we have this environment-centered thinking, it acknowledges this interconnectedness and interdependence of humans or animals or plants, or land or water or air, and also materials and artifacts. Because if you look at stones, they also have a lifespan. Everything has a lifespan of existence. So we have to think more in these terms in order to understand that when we hurt the environment, we are hurting ourselves, actually. So
wonderful, thank you.
So as a takeout.
Go ahead, Adina.
Yeah. Just as a takeout for the mind side of the of the world, is like whenever you are making a plan, even a business plan, make a plan about your future, taking into consideration the values and the humanity, and where you want the humanity to be 50 years from now, and not where you want your business to be 50 years from now.
And particularly when you do a business plan, because today the transformation we're talking about also reflect majorly in the way in which we moved from what is called shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism.
Yeah.
The value of your business will not be the value that the shareholders will have, but it's the value that you can give to stakeholders. And also, I think in business it's important to think of non-human stakeholders.
Yes.
It's very important to think of all human stakeholders and of non-human stakeholders. Is your business good for bees? Is your business good for, yes, is it or not? So, and I think that because we are the ones who make business, we are able to change that vision and to create value, because value is a matter of belief and trust. Mm-hmm. There's nothing inherently valuable in a piece of paper called money, or in the numbers we have in our account. There's nothing inherently valuable. It's what we make of it, what we give value to. So I think that's what we need, is to give value to life in every form. Mm-hmm. Because the system right now gives more value to a dead tree than to a live tree. Gives more value to a dead fish than to a live fish. A dead everything, including an almost dead human being who only watches the screen, has more values because he spends hours on social media and has more values for the system than somebody who's alive and does something meaningful, socially meaningful. Mm-hmm. So this is my conclusion for today. Sorry, I got very passionate about it.
Brilliant. I'm impressed. So it's everything that I wanted to say as well. So I'm very happy to have this conclusion at the end of the 30 minutes.
Thank you. Aishatu,
And
would you like to
it's
say?
it's life that is knocking on my door. The kids are queuing there. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Would you like to say something, Aishatu? Yeah.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think I hope people will take away from this that it's important to think of us as part of an ecosystem, and to consider not only human needs but all actors. And I'm happy that we have discussed so much. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.